From. For this hour, we are here, our one gathered congregation, and now you can hear me, and all are welcome. Please rise and bow to your spirit to join in singing our musical call to worship for all the saints, hymn number 103 in our gray hymnal. And please note that verse number 3 is on the second page. It's all by itself because it splits into harmonies. So parts 1 and 2 are on page, from the beginning, page, third verse is over here, and then you go back over for verse number 4. Thank you. What a joyful way to start this Sunday morning. My name is Ed Luby. I have served this congregation in several different ways through the past. Currently, I am fulfilling 2 roles as lay leader, and I'll be singing with these band of miscreants over here a little bit later as well. I've been in, and next week I'll be ushing, so I'll be an usher as we come in next week. I am currently wearing a pair of stretch pants because I like them. Some gray tennis shoes, a blue open collar shirt, kind of half shaven, which is kind of my trend since I've been retired. And I've got a little bit of shininess going on the top of my head, which is indicative of my increasing trips around the sun. Our guest speaker this morning is Reverend Carol McKinley. Reverend Carol is a frequent and popular speaker at KUUF. She comes to us from the Olympia Unitarian Universalist Congregation, where she is an affiliated community minister. If you are visiting this morning, please participate as you feel comfortable. If you're here in person, fidget toys and a rocking chair are available for wiggles and sensory needs, and we have assistive listening systems available. If you need one, please see one of our ushers. You're also invited to stay and meet people during the coffee hour. Many members of our congregation attend online. If you are visiting today online, you're welcome to introduce yourself in the chat. Now, some important announcements about our upcoming auction, the Now Let Us Sing Celebrating 75 Years of KUUF auction. Your 2025 KUUF auction committee is thrilled with the items already entered into the online auction catalog. Keep finding and entering your fabulous items, your fun events, your tasty treats, and your helpful services. Did you know that one of the most popular services from past auctions was offering rides for those who don't drive? And soup. Did we mention soup? Another popular item was the delivery of a hot pot of homemade soup. Please stop by the auction table after today's service for more information and a copy of our How to Enter a Donation Online help document. Thank you for helping make this year's auction our most successful one yet. At 2:30 today, this afternoon, there will be an estate planning program offered by Ellen. Okay. Next week, this penciled in piece down here is going to happen. So be sure to come in at 2:30 next week to learn more about estate planning. Please see the insert in your order of service for any more events for that. This, in case you haven't noticed, is in your order of service. You might want to take a look at that. That tells you what's happening as a calendar through the month, and that'll tell you more about what's happening today, which apparently I would have had a little help with if I'd have looked at it closer. More announcements about KUUF Fellowship are available in our weekly email newsletter, The Candle. You can sign up on the website or in the foyer to receive that emailed newsletter. Now, let's take a moment to silence any electronic devices that you don't need to be monitoring for the next hour. So if it's a glucose monitor, keep that puppy on. But if it's a cell phone, silence it, turn it off. If it's a pager, because you live in the 1980s, silence that thing. Please join me in taking a few centering breaths to bring us into this place and better accept the blessings that we will receive today. And that helped calm my brain just a little bit as well. We acknowledge that the land on which we gather is the Aboriginal territory of the Suquamish people. Expert fishermen, canoe builders, and basket weavers, the Suquamish live in harmony with the lands and waterways along Washington's Central Salish Sea, as they have for thousands of years. Here the Suquamish live and protect the lands and waters of their ancestors for future generations, as promised by the Point Elliott Treaty of 1855. And now Reverend Carol will give us our opening words.
Good morning. I'm Carol McKinley, an older woman with white hair, wearing glasses, a purple jacket, and a stole with teal, purple, and black woven pattern. And I use she, her pronouns. Before I offer the opening words, I would like to invite Reverend Jenny Zapala to the front of the sanctuary to be introduced to Kitsap UU Fellowship. Jenny moved to Bremerton last month and will be serving here in our community. She says she finds joy weaving the golden threads of creativity, caring, and community together. Jenny earned a community ministry certificate at Cherry Hill Seminary and ordination from Sacred Well Congregation. And in a way, this is a homecoming for Jenny. While growing up in the Puget Sound area, Jenny came to Bremerton for family reunions, for Christmas at her grandmother's house, and to collect family stories. Jenny is looking forward to getting to know KUUF better and being part of this community. And she'll be offering a service here in November. So welcome, Jenny. Welcome. Thank you. We open today's worship service with these words from the Reverend John Millspaugh. There is a core of light that underlies the little darknesses of our days. That light reminds us of the potential of our lives and the dawning potential of humanity. We gather in community to remember this core of light and to count it sacred, a light within each of us, a light at the center of the life we seek to build together. Once again, welcome. It is good to be together.
Now we would like to welcome Rosemary up to light our chalice today. If you don't know Rosemary, I don't know what rock you've been living under, because Rosemary is one of the backbone, one of the vertebrae of this organization. So if you haven't had a chance to meet her, go ahead and meet Rosemary later. You'll be happier for it. Now join me in lighting our chalice. If you have your own chalice or candle at home, please light it as I read our chalice lighting words by Annie Forster. Let us light our chalices together with these words adapted from those of the Reverend Sarah Lammert. All right, we've got two people writing it today. The element of fire represents passion, veracity, authenticity, and vitality. If the chalice is the supporting structure of Unitarian Universalism, then we are the flame. We are the flame, fanned strong by our passion for freedom, our yearning for truth-telling, our daring to be authentic with one another, and the vitality we sustain in our meeting together. In all of this, there is love. Now please join me in our spoken affirmation. The words will appear on your screen. We gather as a caring community, seeking life's deeper meanings. We value diversity and affirm the worth of all living things. We strive to speak truth in love, to act for justice, to grow in spirit, and to care for the earth. We celebrate with open hearts and minds the creative power that sustains and transforms us. Now please rise in body and or spirit to join in singing hymn number 403, Spirit of Truth, of Life, of Power, in the Gray Hymnal.
Good morning. I have fading red hair, wearing black glasses, and a dark blue tank top. Today I'm going to be sharing a story with you about compassion. Compassion is the theme for the month of October through our Soul Matters. And we're going to talk today not just about the kind of compassion that shows up when someone is sad or hurt, but the kind that's part of how we move through the world every day. As Unitarian Universalists, we believe that compassion is something we can practice and grow, like a seed we water in our hearts. Last week's story explored how compassion often means helping someone in a small way, like the mouse helping the lion. Our story today is about another kind of compassion, the kind that happens when we view a big injustice that is hurting people and we say to ourselves, "That's not right. I need to do something about it." This story is about a real person, one of our inspiring UU ancestors who made a big difference by treating people with compassion and dignity, even when the rest of the world didn't. This is a true story about someone who lived a long time ago, over 200 years ago, before there were cell phones or cars or even electricity in most homes. Her name was Dorothea Dix. And even though her world looked very different from ours, she had something very important that was in common with us. Dorothea believed that every person deserves to be treated with dignity and compassion, respect, and care. When she was a child, her life was really hard. Her mom was often sick, her dad wasn't kind, and her family moved from place to place a lot. Dorothea didn't always feel safe or seen. Eventually, she went to live with her grandmother in Boston, and things got a lot better. Dorothea loved to read, and even though girls weren't always taught to study back then, Dorothea taught herself all kinds of things. When she grew up, she became a teacher and opened a school for children who were poor. She wasn't trying to be famous. She was just a compassionate person who wanted to help. That's what compassion looks like, noticing someone who is hurting and choosing to care. One day, Dorothea decided to visit the Unitarian Church where Dr. William Ellery Channing was speaking. What she heard that day changed her life forever. She heard Dr. Channing preach that God was love. We are all part of that love, and we are called to show that love to others. This was very different from the sermon she heard in her own church. It wasn't long after that Dorothea became a Unitarian. Inspired by her Unitarian faith that called her to put love and compassion at the center of her life, she started looking around for people who were being treated unfairly, people who had been forgotten. And one day, she visited a prison where women were being locked up, not because they were dangerous, but because they had mental illness. Some of them were chained to the wall, with no warm clothes or blankets. The people in charge said, "It doesn't matter. They don't feel cold like normal people." But Dorothea knew better. She said, "They are people. They feel cold. They feel pain. They deserve dignity." And then she did something amazing. She just didn't feel sad. She took action. Dorothea visited every single prison in Massachusetts. She took notes, she asked questions, she wrote reports, she spoke to people in the government. And guess what? Because of her work, the state opened hospitals where people with mental illnesses were treated kindly and given food, clothing, care, and respect. Then she went to other states, and she did it all again. Over and over, she showed up and spoke out. Dorothea helped change the way our country thinks about mental health. Dorothea believed that people should be treated kindly, even if they think or act differently. Everyone deserves dignity, no matter what they're going through. With her life, she taught many people that compassion often means standing up and saying, "This isn't right. We can do better." So next time you see someone being left out, or struggling, or treated unfairly, even in a small way, remember Dorothea. Remember that compassion isn't just a feeling, it's something we do. What I love about this story is how it reminds us what compassion looks like when we think of it as a practice. When we don't just feel sad about someone's pain, but when we choose to show up with love and do something about that person's pain. So this week, let's look for ways to practice compassion, not just in words, but in the way we treat others, especially those who are often overlooked. Because compassion calls us to treat everyone with dignity. And when we do that, as Dorothea taught us, we can change the world.
Thank you, Melinda. As a religious community, together we can do the work of many. By sharing in the sacred act of giving, we transform gratitude into generosity towards our mission. One way that our mission inspires us to act on our shared UU values is to share our weekly offering with a local nonprofit agency providing services within our larger community. Our charitable giving recipient for the month of October is the Foundation for Homelessness and Poverty Management. Our process for giving donations has recently changed a little bit, so if you want your donations to go to KUUF, put them directly in the basket that will be handed to you by our ushers soon. If you wanted to go to the Foundation for Homelessness and Poverty Management, please put it in the white envelope that was provided with your order of service. If you need an envelope, please raise your hand and an usher will give you that envelope. While we are getting our offering, let's enjoy our music from the KUUF choir. And I'm going to run over there and back again.
Yesterday when nobody answered.
Thank you, choir, Mike, Brian. And now it's time for a very special moment in the life of Kitsap UU Fellowship, your new member welcome ceremony. We do today what humans have done for centuries. We gather to seek greater purpose and deeper lives together in ways that cannot be done alone. We at KUUF are grateful today for each one of you new members, that you have found your way here, that you've decided to make a commitment to this faith community. We hope that as a member, you will allow yourselves to know and be known, to minister to and to be ministered unto, to love and be loved by this congregation. We never really know what combination of fate, friendship, and good luck it is that brings certain people together in this world for any purpose. But we believe that membership in the faith community calls each of us here to celebrate that which draws us together and to regard each person as a spiritual friend and a potential teacher, even of occasional hard times. And it's so good to hear those new voices. Relationships we form in church are based on the needs of the soul, needs that render each one of us vulnerable and therefore are reliant on each other's grace and goodness and a generosity of spirit from all of you. Members of this church pledge to be guardians of each other's spirits and to respect the ultimate privacy of each one's human struggle and to believe in each person's dignity. Finally, members of this congregation rely on the wisdom of their covenant, a reminder of the true purpose in being together. I now invite Ruth Picone, KUF's board president, and our welcoming and membership committee chair, Ellie Klaumenzer, to come forward to welcome our new members. And new members, those of you who are here, and you might think of you online as well, please rise. And I know online you can't come forward, but you might want to rise as you're willing and able. If you have not yet signed the membership book and would like to do so today, you're welcome to come forward now to show your intention to do so. And you can sign the book and receive orientation with Ellie following the service. For those of you watching online today, please introduce yourself in the chat and as a new member, and know that we will speak your names in our midst here in the sanctuary. And now I invite new members to come forward and line up beside the pulpit here.
As president of our Board of Trustees, I am grateful to welcome you on behalf of our congregation. The membership book that you sign is a treasured symbol of our freely chosen faith. Our collection of books goes back to 1950 and holds the memory of each person who has come into this congregation and said yes to linking arms and learning together, to our spiritual growth and development, and to be of service in the world and to each other. This is where we put our values into action. Our Welcoming and Membership Committee Chair, Ellie, will present you with a rose today as a sign of our gratitude and appreciation. The rose is a symbol used in many UU rites of passage. When children are dedicated, children and their family receive a rose that has the thorns removed to honor their innocence and tenderness. When youth bridge to young adulthood, youth receive a rose that has some thorns removed and some thorns remaining. Emerging adults are learning to live with the thorns in their lives, while their community and faith make those challenges smoother and share the load. When adults become members of our congregation, they receive a rose with all its beauty and all of its thorns. This is a sign that you are welcome here in all of your wholeness, as we face thorny challenges of our times together. Those of you attending online, there is a rose emoji. You are welcome to find it and fill up the chat with digital roses to welcome our new members, whose names I will now read. Lane Daniel. James Spear. Stacy Villanueva. Michelle Louvion, perhaps she's online.
Michelle is moving today, so
Oh, she's moving today, so our thoughts are with her for that. James Haynes Timmons. Carol Haynes. Mark Stroh. Suzanne Dunn. Larissa Harris. Josh Sellers. Kay Sandvig. Sally Murphy. Pamela Raptis is here. Scott Alexander. Ivalee Alexander. Ron Cross. And Ruth Cross. Sorry? Heather Johnson. Are there more names that aren't listed here?
this, all the
You want-
rest, everybody else, come with me after the service and we'll sign the book. Can we say their name? Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Yes, can we say their names? Yes. Trey?
Trey Jackman. I apologize.
Tina Fox?
Tina Fox.
Wesley Vega?
That was Wesley Vega.
Hades Edmond?
80s Edmund. All right, that's it.
What a great group. You want to just stay up here for a moment? We're not through. It's wonderful to see you all. So new members, longtime members, and recent members, We'll now affirm the covenant of this congregation. And this covenant is a promise that members renew each week to themselves and to each other. This promise holds this community together with common purpose and common love in the midst of our diversity of belief. The words will be on the screen, and we will start with an affirmation from our new members. You don't have to read the whole thing because I'll do that. New members, you have chosen to make a commitment to this congregation, and thank you. Will you offer your presence and gifts as KUUF seeks to create a community and a world dedicated to love and justice? And you might, we will. And congregation, will you welcome these new members with the warmth and comfort of your companionship and add your strengths and talents to the new gifts they bring to us? Will you share KUUF's triumphs and the struggles as this community grows and changes? We will. And all together now, new members, will you accept this community's gifts of fellowship, discovery, and service? We will. And again, all together, as the members of Kitsap Unitarian Universalist Fellowship, our mission is to build a liberal religious community and love and justice, enriched by diversity, that nurtures spirituality and inspires us to act on our beliefs. Thank you all you new members, and welcome. You may return to your seats now. Return to your seats as we sing our children out to RE. So now everyone, including our new members who are already standing, please rise in body or spirit to join me in singing our children up to their classes. The words for "May You Go With Joy" will appear on the screens.
Now is the time for our joys and sorrows. When shared together, our joys are amplified and our sorrows lessened. Our first joy and sorrow is anonymous today for the hope of peace in Gaza and the sorrow for the economic and emotional stress of our government workers. Ellen Newberg shares a joy that Mark Sugimoto was very helpful to an elder with tech issues. Jess Vandergalen says that their soul sister Beth, the paramedic, is happy that their sister Beth, the paramedic, is able to attend the Palestinians returning to Gaza City. Her love, energy, and stability is so needed. My sorrow is for the families grieving the horrors. Cassidy Owen. My joy is that although I was lonely while my husband and son were gone for the weekend at a wedding, I had a delightful tea party and Jane Austen movie viewing with two good friends, which was a lovely break from routine. That is a good break sometimes. Brian Watson has a joy for the Building and Grounds Committee, specifically Eric Howlett, Mark Sugimoto, Paul Wilson, Bill Budd, and Alan Newberg for the new heating and cooling system, making it warm in here today. Lane Daniel. Joy is for the Power of Sun Carrier Solar Horse by Craig Jacob Brown, and the songs and horse wisdom provided by Lynn Ferguson. And now we have an anonymous sorrow. I need strength to leave a situation. I'm scared because I will be homeless, but I will be safe. Domestic violence is hard, really hard. I want to give up so badly. I feel lost. There's no real help, just sorrow. Please send positive vibes my way so that I may find a place in this world. Now please join me in a moment of prayer or intention. In the spirit of community in which we find strength and common purpose, we share our joys, our sorrows, our hopes and dreams. We have turned our minds and hearts toward one another in trust, giving love, seeking comfort, and celebrating together. We are a part of the web of life that makes us one with all humanity, one with all the universe, and all the moments of our lives for those loved ones and events shared this morning, and for those yet we hold in the silence of our hearts. We are truly grateful for the love and support of this beloved community. May the spirit of life and love bring peace to us all. And may we light one more candle for those joys and sorrows yet too tender to share. Amen and blessed be. Please remain seated as we sing hymn number 123, Spirit of Life, from the gray hymnal. The words will appear on your screen. Our first reading today comes from the University of North Carolina College of Arts and Sciences. History can be a very messy business, and like all human enterprises, particularly susceptible to bias, self-righteousness, pride, vanity, and if not outright an intentional perversion of the truth, at least the subconscious obfuscation of some grimmer and grimier reality. Nor is history something that can be easily defined or restricted. People import too much emotional baggage into the formulation of their histories and leave much room for too much emotional baggage into the formulation of their histories to leave much room for impartiality. One brief event can take on thousands of different meanings when all sorts of people impose their own variations of the truth upon it. Determining the truth about history, the elusive and the elusive, what really happened, is likely to be a smooth or simple exercise. But because it's hard to come by, doesn't mean we shouldn't give up pursuing historical truth. As with so many human endeavors, the struggle itself has great merit and delivers all sorts of rewards, if not full and unvarnished truth.
Our second reading is from An Indigenous People's History of the United States by Roxanne Dunbar Ortiz. How then can the U.S. society come to terms with its past? How can it acknowledge responsibility? The late Native historian Jack Forbes always stressed that while living persons are not responsible for what their ancestors did, they are responsible for the society they live in, which is a product of that past. Assuming this responsibility provides a means of survival and liberation. Now let's pause for a moment of reflection, followed by our post-reflection music.
I am open and I am willing for to be hopeless would seem so strange. It dishonors those who go before us. So lift me up to the light of change. There is hurting in my family. There is sorrow in my town. There is panic in the nation, and there is wailing the whole world around. But I am open and I am willing for to be hopeless would seem so strange. It dishonors those who go before us. So lift me up to the light of change. Oh, may the children see more clearly, and may the elders be more wise. May the winds of change caress us, even though it burns our eyes. For I am open and I am willing for to be hopeless. Well, it would seem so strange. You know that it dishonors those who go before us. So lift me up to the light of change. Oh, give me a mighty yoke to bear my confusion. Give me a vast and empty desert to hold my fears, Give me a sunset to hold my wonder. And give me an ocean to hold my tears. For I am open and I am willing those who go before us. So lift me up to the light of change.
Thank you, Elena, choir, and thanks to Holly Neer for writing that song. America's attic is due for some major cleaning, at least in the opinion of the current administration. Earlier this year, an executive order titled Restoring Truth and Sanity to American History reflected the White House effort to shift the focus from what it called corrosive ideology to the restoration of American greatness through a review of exhibits in the Smithsonian's 21 museums. And those museums are often called America's attic. Particularly targeted were exhibits about slavery and LGBTQ plus history. The order said that exhibits needed to present a more positive image of this nation's past. The National Park Service has also been ordered to revise or eliminate some exhibits, including one about Benjamin Franklin's scientific achievements, because it also references Franklin's ownership of enslaved persons. Now, the Smithsonian is called America's Attic for good reason. It holds our collective memories, both the good and the bad. Denying or erasing events in this nation's past does not mean they no longer exist. The past is an inheritance, a gift and a burden, writes historian Jill Lepore in her book, These Truths, A History of the United States. It can't be shirked. You carry it everywhere, she says. There's nothing for it but get to know it. When the government seeks to revise history through political pressure, removal of institutions' directors, or withdrawn funding, the story of the struggle to achieve this nation's values is negated. After all, our history is not only one of glorious achievements, but of the ongoing struggles to realize them. And telling the complete story of those struggles is important. The call by powerful constituencies for histories that affirm more than inform is not new. Commemorations this weekend are an example of those efforts by those with influential voices to establish a particular version of history that becomes accepted as the only story. More than 90 years ago, President Franklin Roosevelt designated October 12th as Columbus Day, proclaiming a new national holiday. And that was later changed, as we all know, to the second Monday of October. This year, that is tomorrow, October 13th. And for decades before the day became official, Columbus's discovery of America was celebrated with school programs, plays, and community festivals across the country. Yet, the celebration of Columbus Day has not been without controversy. Today, not all states recognize Columbus Day, and a growing number of states, including Washington State, focus on the second Monday of October as Indigenous Peoples Day to offer a different perspective on this country's story and to acknowledge the culture and contributions of our Native communities. The formal recognition of Indigenous Peoples Day occurred only in 2021, as then President Biden signed a proclamation to celebrate the original people of North America. Now, the Columbus story has seen shifts in recent years, but its acceptance as this country's origin story was rooted in historical events, beginning in the middle of the 19th century. In those years, this country was transitioning from a farming culture to an industrial society, and large numbers of workers willing to work for low wages were needed to work in these humming factories. And this need coincided with the arrival of large numbers of immigrants from Eastern and Southern Europe who, experiencing turmoil in their home countries, arrived in the United States and, like many immigrants today, were seeking better lives and more opportunities. But their arrival stirred hostile reactions among the predominantly white Protestant American population. Discrimination ran rampant, especially against the Roman Catholic immigrants from Sicily and southern Italy, who were vilified as criminal and foreign. But in 1890, a tragic event in New Orleans led to an international incident. The city's police chief was murdered, and before he died, supposedly described his attackers as Italians. Following the arrest, trial, and acquittal of a number of those Italian immigrants, an enraged mob seized and lynched 11 of those men. Then Italy reacted. It ended diplomatic relations with this country, and America's leaders quickly responded, pushing back and trying to rewrite those hateful depictions of Italian immigrants that had stirred violence. It portrayed them as those new arrivals as industrious and hardworking. The following year, with much pomp and ceremony, the United States created Discoverers Day. That was in 1891. That became a nationwide celebration to celebrate the 400th anniversary of Columbus, the Italian Christopher Columbus's landing here. The Columbian Exposition, or the Chicago World's Fair, was designated to commemorate Columbus's voyage. The story had shifted, portraying Columbus as the discoverer, the founder of America. In 1937, following persistent urging of Italian American and Catholic lobbying groups such as the Knights of Columbus, President Roosevelt declared Columbus Day as that holiday. But then, beginning in the 1960s, when there was lots of turmoil going on, activists began calling for more objectivity and fairness in how we see this country's history. They asked that people in the United States take another look at old stories with a willingness to hear those voices that have been silenced or ignored. What was the true story of America's discovery? Well, when Christopher Columbus stepped out of his landing craft onto the white sands of Guanahani Island, now known as San Salvador in the Bahamas, he performed a ceremony, planting a flag in the soil to take possession of the land for the King and Queen of Spain. He did this as their agent under the international laws of Western Christendom. And no doubt you've seen reproductions of that famous painting by Albert Bierstadt immortalizing this act of possession. That painting, The Landing of Columbus, depicts Indians worshipfully kneeling on the beach as a glorified Columbus and his men set foot on the shore. Images like those in Bierstadt's painting further cemented the Columbus myth in the minds of people of the United States. But where did that myth come from? Now, a few years ago, I think it was probably about 2017, I spoke here about how this myth came to be and how the act of possession of a continent was based on a religious doctrine from the 1400s, and how that act, known as the Doctrine of Discovery, shaped and continues to shape policies in the United States and other colonized lands, including Australia, that affected those lands' indigenous peoples. The doctrine of discovery originated from various church documents in the Christian Europe in the mid-1400s. It justified the domination by European monarchies when their explorers arrived here in this hemisphere. They used biblical text as support, and the doctrine of discovery asserted the rights of European Christian country to claim indigenous lands, territories, and resources on behalf of Christendom, and to subjugate the native people. So under the authority of patriotism and religion expressed in the doctrine of discovery, Columbus was directed by the king and queen to discover any land not occupied by European Christians and take possession. Any new land was declared terra nullius. It's a Latin expression meaning nobody's land. Of course, this was not actually nobody's land. After all, these North American lands were the home to myriad people and cultures before Columbus in 1492 sailed the ocean blue. And as that historian Dunbar Ortiz reminds us, there were 95 million Native Americans living on the North American continent when Europeans arrived here. But because they were not European Christians, those indigenous people could not have souls. And they were virtually like animals. And like animals, they could not own, possess, or use the land. Even if the occupants were recognized as human, they were not using the land in a way accepted by European farming standards, and so the land was declared terra nullius and could be seized and occupied, with the native people subject to eradication. This concept of discovery, as if the land were empty prior to the arrival, and its indigenous inhabitants were somehow less than the explorers, is at heart racism and cultural superiority. Now, the doctrine of discovery shaped a major part of America's story, taken for granted, but it's rarely mentioned in historical or legal text. Yet its impact was and continues to be profound. In her History of Indigenous Peoples, Dunbar Ortiz writes, "Origin narratives form the vital core of a people's unifying. It names the values that guide them. Here in the United States, the founding and development of the Anglo-American settler state involves a narrative about Puritan settlers who had a covenant with God to take the land. European nations acquired title to the land they discovered, and the indigenous inhabitants lost their natural right to the land. Now, fortunately, the work of historians has given us deeper, more nuanced, and balanced view of this nation's origins. And the historian's work is reflected in those exhibits in the Smithsonian museums and the National Park Service historic sites. Most people think history is what happened in the past. However, professional historians like Dunbar Ortiz or Jill Lepore know that the reality of history is much more problematical. As we heard in that earlier reading that Ed gave, history is a very messy business, and like all human enterprises, particularly susceptible to bias, self-righteousness, pride, vanity, if not outright an intentional perversion of the truth, at least the subconscious obfuscation of some grimmer and grimier reality. As we learn from stories that have been uncovered by historians, our own story as part of this nation, with all its flaws, accomplishments, and failures, is expanded. History makes us aware not only of who we were, but who we are and what we are becoming. It teaches us that understanding awareness of equality, fairness, and the collective good are always evolving. It teaches us what we and this country can be when we know the truth. Government censorship of what is written, taught, or displayed in museums does not change the past. It only covers it up and tries to erase it. It is important, I feel, that this nation tell the full story of its past and not bury shameful episodes, but face them honestly, bring them to light, and then we can do all we can do to address them. Unitarian Universalist minister Jan Carlson Bull says, once a body of belief begins to crack, once what is held to be historic gospel begins to erode, once any one of us becomes privy to another story, another history, another reality, only out of a penchant to take our cues from loved ones can we then erase that past. And that, becomes climbing into a boat guaranteed to rock, is just way too scary. Unitarian Universalist minister Tom Shade adds, we cannot change the past, but we can change how we think about the past. Let us face down our own discomforts and move toward that higher and more expansive honoring. Because this is how transformation happens. Truth-telling makes transformation possible. It is true for us as individuals and for us as part of this nation. Living in the present means knowing our past, acknowledging how it has shaped our world and our community in ways that are both good and not so good. Then coming together to work to right earlier wrongs as best we can. May each one of us continue to be unafraid to look into this nation's past and uncover that covered up history. May we, as people of faith, committed to the transforming power of love, move into the future with honesty, truth, compassion, and resolve. And so may it be. And now let us join in singing our closing hymn. It's number 108, My Life Goes On, and the words will appear on the screen as well.
Above
enjoy the coffee hour with coffee and treats, and feel free to bring them back into the sanctuary for a little quieter location if you'd like. And now we extinguish our chalice with these words. May the light of love and truth grow, spread, expand, and fill the world outside us. Fill the world within us with understanding, with caring, with peace. And may you go into this day with peace. Amen.